A well-regulated militia being necessary to the security of a free state. The right of the people to keep and bear arms shall not be infringed. Thank you for tuning into another edition of Bearing Arms Cam and Company. My name is Cam Edwards. Great to have you with us once again. Coming up in just a couple of minutes, we're going to talk with Scott Ayers from Farmville Sporting Goods right here in Farmville, Virginia, where we produce Bearing Arms Cam and Company each and every weekday. My local FFL. We're going to be talking about how busy gun dealers are across the state of Virginia in the wake of the election victories by gun control advocates on Tuesday. We also are getting some response from some of the big Second Amendment organizations around the country. I've got a full write-up at Bearing Arms if you would like to take a look, but I can give you some of the highlights from the NRA, Second Amendment Foundation, Gun Owners of America, the National Rifle Association releasing a statement yesterday saying that basically buckle up and get ready, Virginians. Quote, as if Governor Northam's legacy of ineptitude wasn't enough, Virginians are about to experience life under a distant tycoon's thumb. Candidates who proudly accepted Bloomberg's cash and every voter they misled will soon realize the cost of being beholden to a Manhattan billionaire who despises Virginians' right of self-defense. Alan Gottlieb from the Second Amendment Foundation telling me that, quote, gun rights supporters got overwhelmingly outspent in Virginia by anti-rights groups, which resulted in gun prohibitionists gaining control of the legislature. He said we must make sure that that does not happen in 2020. And Eric Pratt from the Gun Owners of America said, quote, Virginia's election results, while disappointing, should not be interpreted as a grassroots call for gun control. Said many factors, including out-of-state influencers, were at play in this election. For example, he says anti-gun New York billionaire Michael Bloomberg sent millions of out-of-state money into the Old Dominion to support anti-gun candidates. Out-of-state celebrities like Alec Baldwin went campaigning door to door. Another factor, the redistricting measures which favored anti-gun candidates, all of which is correct, by the way. And Eric Pratt also points out that there were some victories. Nick Freitas, delegate, ended up winning his reelection in a write-in campaign after a snafu left his name off of the ballot. Dave Adams from the Virginia Shooting Sports Association noted yesterday that Senator Amanda Chase, state senator from the Richmond suburbs, easily won re-election as an outspoken Second Amendment supporter. Meanwhile, you had others like Representative or Delegate Glenn Sturdivant, who had been great on the issue and then started talking about, well, maybe we should have red flag laws. He ended up losing a very close race, also in the Richmond suburbs. So was this entirely a victory by gun control advocates? No, they did not pick up every seat that they had targeted. Clearly, their message was effective in a couple of districts, but why was it effective? Was it more effective because you had candidates like Sturdivant back away from their support for the right to keep and bear arms, and not offer policies that would address violent crime, mental illness, suicide, and instead embracing a anti-gun agenda item like a red flag bill? Regardless of all of the various reasons why the elections turned out the way they did, gun control advocates are feeling very, very good right now. And as a matter of fact, they are already looking ahead to 2020. And one of the places that they are looking towards next year, Texas. And chuckle for a minute, but all right, laugh time over. Because here's the thing. They really do believe that they have a winning strategy that they can replicate not just in Virginia, but in states across the nation. And you might say, well, look, Virginia was trending blue already. You got the, growing D.C. suburbs, and they're becoming more and more, quote unquote, progressive. This is only a matter of time. Maybe. And I don't think that Virginia is a lost cause. I really don't. As a matter of fact, I expect in 2 years, thanks to the vociferous anti-gun appetites from lawmakers, gun owners are going to be much more motivated to go to the polls because it won't be a hypothetical. It will be a reality of these gun control laws on the books. Having said that, these anti-gun groups really do believe that they have a winning message in suburban swing districts targeting moms in particular. with a message of we need these common sense gun safety measures. You're not a gun owner, so it's probably going to impact you. But gosh, we got to stop these people from, being tools of the gun lobby and vote somebody in who's going to have some real common sense items here. And like it or not, we as gun owners and we as Second Amendment supporters have to have a message that counters that in those same suburban swing districts. We didn't have that in Virginia on Tuesday, at least not one that resonated enough in enough districts to keep the state Senate or the state House of Delegates in the hands of pro-Second Amendment lawmakers. And we've got a few months before those messaging campaigns start dropping in the 2020 elections around the nation. Now, gun owners in Virginia are busy right now. I can tell you that. Not only are they talking to their elected officials, and they are talking to their elected officials about the upcoming session, but they are also talking to their local gun stores. And I thought I should talk to my local gun store, Farmville Sporting Goods in beautiful Farmville, Virginia, right there on the banks of the Appomattox River. And Scott Ayers is one of the owners and proprietors of Farmville Sporting Goods. He joined me just a short time ago to talk about how things have been going since the election results came in on Tuesday night. Take a look and a listen. Scott, thank you, sir, for coming on the program. I know it's a little weird, but I do appreciate your time today.
No problem.
So tell me what life's been like for you since the election results came in on Tuesday night. I know it's only been a little bit more than a day, but are you already seeing a reaction from gun owners?
Yes, sir. I mean, the very next morning, I already had multiple texts on my phone with people saying I needed to go ahead and order some extra mags, more guns. Even this morning, I had another guy come in want another suppressor. So yes, I see already people are panic buying.
Is there anything in particular? I mean, you mentioned suppressors. Is there anything in particular that folks seem to be looking for?
Right now, everybody's thinking Ayers, any handguns with high capacity, suppressors. That's about it right now that I'm seeing.
So basically, the stuff that we know that Ralph Northam wants to ban. There's the stuff that people are interested in buying.
Absolutely.
It's interesting because that suggests to me that perhaps these folks are not just planning on owning these guns for a couple of months until they're banned, but they're planning on keeping these firearms as well. I'm curious. I mean, it's been 26 years since we've seen any gun control bills pass in Virginia, so this is a new experience for a lot of us. What are you anticipating over the next couple of months?
Well, already my suppliers are drying up, so I'm seeing that it's going to be harder for me to get product.
Oh, really?
That's not going to be good for some of my customers because, like as of yesterday, I have one supplier that had several hundred of a certain kind of AR. I ordered a few of them myself, and they were out within 20 minutes.
Wow. So other gun stores around the state, do you think that most of those were sold to gun stores in Virginia?
I couldn't say that for sure, but
yeah.
I would think that yes, there was many of the stores around here doing the same thing I'm doing.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely, and so you're a little concerned that as we get closer into the Christmas season, which obviously is a big season for retailers, that you might have some trouble actually, keeping stuff in stock.
Correct.
Wow.
That is a concern already.
That's not, and again, that's sort of a double whammy because obviously we know that anti-gun politicians want to make it difficult for you and other gun store owners to survive. And so, now's the time when you need to sort of be, banking some sales in right now. Are you able to, look elsewhere outside of your normal distribution streams? How do you deal with a supply crunch like this?
I'm already doing that, already going online and finding new suppliers. As of this morning, I'm picking up some new people I'm signing up with already.
Well, listen, I wish you the best because I know that it's going to be a rough road here. But, as you and I were talking, you are my local FFL. I don't think gun owners are rolling over here. I don't think we're giving up. I don't know how successful we're going to be at pushing back these gun control bills legislatively, but I feel confident that any bill that gets signed by Governor Ralph Northam is likely to be challenged in court. So my advice to gun owners, I don't know what you're telling customers, but my advice to gun owners is, be ready, but don't panic. You can be smart about this.
That's true. It is, like you said, that any bill that gets passed, we're hopeful that it will go into the court systems. But it's all in the dark right now. We don't know what's going to happen.
Yeah, well, no, that's absolutely right. And unfortunately, even if it gets challenged in court, that means that it's now a law and it's not a bill. And there's no guarantee that a judge is going to block any particular law from going into effect. We've seen out in California, a federal judge blocked that state's magazine ban from going into effect, but up in New Jersey, a judge allowed it to take place. So you're right; it's all over the place. How concerned are you about what this means for your, long-term longevity as a federal firearms licensee?
Well, it's going to be a challenge to get the product that my customers want. Again, we just don't know. We don't know what the future will hold.
Yeah. I think a lot of uncertainty all over the place. Listen, Scott, I appreciate you coming on the program, sir, and I'd love to check back in with you here in a few weeks and see how things are going.
Okay.
All right.
Good.
Happy hunting to you, sir. Scott Ayers from Farmville Sporting Goods join us here on Bearing Arms Cam & Company. All right, we'll talk with Scott again here before long, and who knows, maybe even check in with a couple of other gun store owners around the state of Virginia. I got to say, everybody is so skittish to talk to the media. You can tell them you work for Bearing Arms. You can tell them it's a pro-Second Amendment site, and you still have a lot of folks say, I don't talk to the press. So I actually do have to thank Scott Ayers for talking about what's going on with his shop here in Farmville. Let's get to today's Armed Citizen story, our good deed of the day, our recidivist report. In fact, we will start there. New York State has plenty of gun control laws on the books, and violent criminals don't seem to care, in part because we still see violent criminals, particularly young criminals, getting slaps on the wrist when they commit a violent crime. Check out this headline from WHAM. Gates, New York. Woman jumps out of window of Gates Hotel, fleeing alleged teen attacker, already on probation. Yep. Lieutenant Rob Long with the Gates Police Department says fight or flight was in effect, and she chose flight. Yeah, because New York makes it so incredibly difficult to exercise your right to fight back in self-defense. WHAM has learned that the 15-year-old suspect is already on probation for a violent crime committed last year. He's now been charged with robbery, assault, unlawful imprisonment, grand larceny. Zavion Harris, when he was 14, for this violent crime, was handled in Monroe County Family Court. WHAM says we don't know if he was sent to detention or even punished because the record is sealed. Now, in this most recent case, police were called out to a Red Roof Inn in Gates. A woman staying on a second-floor room told police she answered a knock at her door. She was met by a teenager with a handgun. She was pistol whipped. Money was taken. And police say after she was hit on the side of the head, she escaped the only way she could, which was through a window. She said, Lieutenant Long said she had the wherewithal to use the open window. She was able to get out on a little ledge and plop down to the concrete. Zavion Harris identified as a result of surveillance footage. He was arrested at a party in a neighboring room. What kind of, I was going to say, what kind of dummy commits a robbery at the hotel that he's staying at? A 15-year-old dummy. That's what kind of dummy commits a robbery in the same hotel where he's partying. Yeah. He's also accused of exposing himself and making threats. Monroe County Assistant District Attorney Dan Strawlow says one of the other allegations is that he threatened to shoot her on multiple occasions. Now, the 15-year-old's defense attorney, Matthew Clark, says his client denies having anything to do with this, that a police canine was unable to find a weapon. Dan Strawlow, the assistant DA, says juvenile offenders are prosecuted pretty much the same as adults. You sure about that? I'm not so sure about that. WHAM notes that this individual last year, Zavion Harris, allegedly committed an armed robbery when he was 14. And they say it is unclear why he was back out on the streets or how the case was adjudicated. The assistant DA says he couldn't say what, if any, punishment was received. He said, I honestly don't know. Even if I did, I couldn't tell you because it's shielded from us prosecutors as well. All right. So we don't know what happened to Xavion Harris last year after he committed an armed robbery. What we do know is that he's not in detention, that he's back out on the streets, partying in hotel rooms, and allegedly robbing women. So it would seem, now again, these are allegations against young Mr. Harris, but it would seem like Xavion Harris didn't get much, if any, punishment, and certainly didn't get any rehabilitation during his brief time of involvement with the juvenile justice system there in the state of New York. Now, on to our armed citizen of the day. From Washington State, I-5 freeway in Everett, Washington. Guy starts throwing stuff at cars from the side of the road. This was back on November the 2nd. Jeremy Yates, allegedly standing on the shoulder of I-5, damaged as many as 10 cars. Investigators say over the course of several minutes, he's throwing concrete, rocks, wooden blocks, metal pipes, a trailer hitch. One woman, Sandra Wild, says it was the most terrifying moment of her life. She said that this trailer hitch hit her windshield, smashed the windshield. She said he grabbed it and she pulled over because of, what happened. And she said the guy grabbed the trailer hitch and continued to hit the window 5 times, and then it broke. Wild called 911. She says this guy's bloody, yelling, trying to get into her car after she pulled over onto the side of the road. And then, as KOMO reports, a Good Samaritan appeared on the scene. A man named Jacob, who has a concealed carry license and was lawfully carrying that day. Jacob told KOMO, quote, I drew my pistol. I aimed it at his head as I got closer to him because he still had this chunk of metal in his hand. I said several expletives at him. I told him to get on the ground, and he was under citizen's arrest. As I ran up to him, he dropped. He dropped the metal. I went to the ground with him. As I went down with him, he jumped up and wanted to fight my father, who was behind me. He came up to help me out. I gave my father my pistol, and I went toe-to-toe with the guy. Jacob said, quote, I backed him off I-5 down onto Pacific Avenue. I physically walked him back as he was trying to walk to I-5. He said, my biggest thing is I didn't want him to jump in front of a vehicle. As Jacob's doing that, troopers arrived. They were able to take Yates into custody without any incident. Jacob said, quote, I was glad I could stop him before he destroyed another vehicle or killed or seriously injured somebody. If you throw a concrete chunk through a windshield that's doing 60 miles an hour, it's going to kill somebody. Indeed. Sandra Wild says that she is grateful that Jacob was there. She says he saved her and other drivers from further harm. She said, quote, if Jacob had not stopped him, he would have kept going. Now, police in Marysville, Washington, say they have a history of run-ins with this guy, mostly for, quote, drug-related and mental health issues. And again, nothing's done. Time and time again, they're dealing with this guy, putting him back on the streets, right? Not getting the help that he needs, not keeping him locked up so he can't hurt anybody else. In Washington State, meanwhile, Washington State lawmakers want to go after guys like Jacob, want to make it more expensive for Jacob to exercise his right of self-defense or the defense of others. They want to tax Jacob's firearm. They want to tax Jacob's ammunition. They want to tell Jacob, hey, you can only have a magazine less than 10 rounds. Hey, Jacob, you can't own those guns over there. Hey, Jacob, you can't do this. Hey, Jacob, you can't do that. And meanwhile, this suspect, well known to law enforcement, lengthy history of drugs, mental illness, well, he's going to get a slap on the wrist, and he's going to be back out on the streets very, very soon. And Lord knows what's going to happen next, because somebody like Jacob might not be around to put a stop to it. All right. Shall we get to our good deed of the day? I mean, I got to say, this is sort of a combo, right? This is the armed citizen. This is also a good deed story. But we have another good deed for you as well. From Cohasset, Massachusetts, Boston 25, reporting on an off-duty officer in Cohasset who ended up helping a woman and her 2 dogs in a time of distress. So this woman was with her 2 dogs. They were out on a trail. One of the 2 dogs is a 3-legged dog. Okay? But one of the 3 legs got injured. And that's no good. So, Psyche, that was the yellow lab who injured one of her good legs, was unable to walk. And Skype's sister, Penelope, were with their owners about a mile into this park. I'm going to mispronounce this. Wampatuck State Park. Officer David Roy was off duty. He was out for a jog there at the park, and he ran into the woman and her pups. He ended up calling the Cassett police station to get help, stayed on the phone, was able to direct officers to the location, helped the woman and her 2 dogs out of the park as well, and looks like everything is going to be okay. Hopefully, Sky, the 3-legged dog, gets her 3rd leg fixed up and is back out to walking before long, but in the right place, at the right time, willing and able to do the right thing. Look at that. Good girl. Officer David Roy, we thank you, sir, for your good deed. All right, that is going to do it for this edition of Bearing Arms Cam & Company. Thank you again for tuning into the program. Hey, don't forget, we have the VIP program at Bearing Arms right now, where just for a very low price, you can get not only an ad-free experience, but depending on the tier you choose, exclusive content, sneak peeks at columns and opinion pieces, chats with editors like myself and guests. It is a great value and a great way to support our reporting on the Second Amendment. So I do appreciate each and every one of you who take part in the VIP program. We'll be back tomorrow with another edition of Bearing Arms Cam & Company. Don't forget, you can also subscribe to the program as a podcast at Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Stitcher, townhall.com's podcast page. And you can subscribe to Town Hall Media as well at YouTube. Have a great rest of your Thursday. We'll be back tomorrow with more Bearing Arms Cam & Company. We'll see you then.